So usually I have a rough idea of how I want to construct my videos, and I'll just go step by step. But this video is going to be a little bit all over the place because I don't really know where to start and where to finish. Now I'll give you an outline of where we're going with this video. I'm going to be talking about what the Dragon Quest employees said over in Japan. I'm going to be talking about Alyssa Mercante and Smash JT, about Ubisoft and their current direction and their what seems like inevitable downfall at this point. The Ghost of Yotei. I want to speak about the GODOT engine and what's been going on over there. And then really end on where our culture is and how I believe, at the very least, even though this might sound holier than thou, and I don't mean it to come across that way, but how disingenuous people are being with a lot of the things we're seeing. And Ghost of Yotei has really exasperated that. Now, I need you to stick with me because the Ghost of Yotei thing is very, very interesting. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Is it Yotei? Someone correct me in the comment section. I think I'm getting that right. The first thing that I want to start off with here is Dragon Quest. Now, at TGS, the Tokyo Game Show, some of the people that worked on Dragon Quest, one of the people there had formerly worked on, I believe, Dragon Ball as well, and they sat around talking about their frustrations with dealing with the West, having their games distributed to Western audiences, having to make business deals and have business relations with the gaming industry over in the West. So I'm going to play this clip to you guys so you can see exactly what I'm talking about.
あとすごい話題になってたそのコスチュームとか当時とそのままなのかどうなのかみたいなのがありましたよね。また
まあね、いろいろ規制もあってね、露出してきちゃいけないとかね。
そこまあちょっとあんまり深掘りする気はないんですけど、いいのにだってフィクションだけどその中に主人公というあなたが入って冒険するっていうことでいいじゃないと思うんですけど、違うんですかね。
なんですかね。よくわかんないですけどね、これについてはね。
ゲームだし、まあフィクションという自分の中のこうバーチャル体験でのノンフィクションだから楽しくければいいのにっていうふうに思っちゃいますけどね。
あんまり露出するとね、年齢が上がっちゃうっていうね。全年齢じゃなくなってしまうっていうのがあったりとか。
ルールがやっぱなんか各国違ったりするんでね、広く売ろうと思うと一番厳しいところに合わせざるを得ないとか。
でも当時そんなこと思わなかったですけどね。
コンプラっていう名のね、やっぱりね、ある種のね、なんだろうな、絶対心というべき、善の名を借りた悪みたいなのがある。全員が不快感を覚えないなんてことはないわけ。だって不快なことを覚える動向でもいいわけよ。だって綺麗汚いとかさ、善悪って人それぞれに感じ方があるわけじゃん。で物事はやっぱり根っこにあるのはやっぱり絶対やっちゃいけないことだけいくつかあって、それさえやらなきゃあとはいいじゃないって、そういうのがないわけよ。だからやっぱり英米の方から来てるその宗教的な概念から来るその正教徒の考え方ってアメリカにあるじゃない。彼らのコンプラの考え方って本当ね狭い。でだから向こうでコミックスだけに全部その年齢で区切ってやらなきゃいけない。少年ジャンプの漫画だったら13アップ13歳以上じゃないと出せない。私は全部リテイクでなきゃいけない。でそれを訴訟が起きるそのために保険も入らなきゃいけない。もうこんなねバカな国とねやるの本当面倒くさい。でそっから日本も悪影響を受けてやってるから、
主人公もね男女選べるんだけど、男女選ぶって書いていけないのね。タイプ1タイプ2なのね。
ね
え。これ男女って誰が一体文句言うんだろうと思うんだけど、そうね。わからない。
And I found that clip to be very, very telling because when I see certain Japanese games come over to our country, you look at the Japanese versions, then you look at our versions, and you wonder to yourself, why did they do that? Who were they protecting? What was the reason behind this? And I can imagine as a creative, it must be very, very frustrating to create something, whether you're a man or a woman, because, you know, there was a woman sitting there as well, and I imagine her sentiments are not just shared by her, they're probably shared by loads of people, as are the women in this country. I know loads of girls in this country that don't appreciate the rife censorship. And I think it's wrong to censor art. I think it's wrong to take someone's piece of art and censor it to try and protect people, to try and better represent people, to try and be culturally sensitive. I think that's all hogwash. And I think the best games that we have are the games that go balls to the wall and the creators get to create really what they want to show us. I'm not for censoring people's art. There's certain pieces of art that I don't like. Like there's loads of games that I don't like. But people are within their rights to make them. I don't think that you should go out of your way to censor people's art direction or creative freedoms. I can imagine as a Japanese developer, it must be really annoying with the current state of things in the West to be sending your games over. I know people might think like there are individuals online that, like, I don't know, live in their mum's basement or something that make a lot of noise over nothing, like the censorship of SNK versus Capcom, I believe it was, or certain SNK products, or games that have been remastered recently and characters have been covered up. I know it might seem like these people are pulling at straws, or that they're why are they even talking about this? Who cares? These are sexless men. It's not that. I think the problem that people are having, and one of the problems that I've had, is that it does feel like there's something I don't want to say nefarious, that might be too strong of a word, but there's something going on, because there's no reason why you would take the works of people over in Japan, for example, or maybe over in China or Korea, and want to censor them, because the gamers over here don't want it. Majority of gamers here don't want it. I just went to my friend's house and we sat there playing Baldur's Gate for ages, and that game has like no censorship whatsoever, and it was a lot of fun. Like, we had a lot of fun, and I can imagine those options that the game affords you, if they weren't there, the game just wouldn't be as fun. So I really think that you should allow people to express themselves freely, and I think that's why these games that are allowing it to happen are doing so well. So I thought that clip was very interesting. I wanted to show it to you guys. It's going to tie in a little bit more into what I discussed later on in this video. Now, before we go further, I do want to address the Alyssa Mercante versus Smash JT situation. Now, you guys might know, you might have seen Smash JT in my comment section before. You might have seen me in his comment section. I like Smash JT's comment. He subscribed to me some time ago. I'm subscribed to his channel. You know, we're not friends on like a message him every day sort of thing, but he's gone out of his way to acknowledge my content, and I the same for him. And I've been following the Alyssa Mercante situation with him. Now, I've said multiple times before that behind all of this culture war stuff that's going on, the way people get wrapped up with things on Twitter, I'm sure that a lot of these people that we might not agree with online, I'm sure they're not bad people. Because I know people within the games industry and in my personal life that when I look at some of Alyssa's things on her Twitter, some of the provocative things that she writes, and some of the things she's written for Kotaku, and some of the things she said on camera, you know, she hasn't been the nicest person. I know that some of these people that behave like her, when I sit down and talk to them, they're not bad people. They get wrapped up in their own little echo chambers, and they forget that there's a whole world out there that doesn't even know what the hell they're on about. And sometimes, you know, sometimes maybe these people can be right about certain things, and sometimes they can be wrong, but people sit so firmly in their camps, they become very vitriolic, and they want to attack people without actually sitting down and having a discussion. And you guys know multiple times, I tried to sit and have discussions with people. I tried to get people on my live stream the other day. All the people that said that they would show up to the live stream to debate me on something that's completely unrelated to this, none of them showed up. Which is becoming par for the course now, because people behind a keyboard are very brave. You know, they've got Wikipedia there, they can form their arguments, but when you put them in front of a camera, or you confront them face to face, not for a fight, just to have a conversation, they start stumbling over their words. They don't really know what to talk about. My suspicion with Alyssa Mercante is that if you put her in front of somebody to debate her on her ideas or her stances within the game industry, that she would crumble. And I believe that because I've gone through her Twitter, and I don't leave her any comments. I don't bother the woman. I don't have a personal beef with her. I certainly don't agree with the things that she says, but I don't know on a personal level, and she's never done anything to me. So I've expressed before, I don't like the person I see online, but I don't know her. But going through her Twitter page, it just seems like she wants to start a fight with people. That's what it looks like to me. Now, Smash JT has called her on her bullshit multiple times. I've watched his videos, and he's only repeated things that I've heard her say about herself. Now, there are some people that exasperate things. I don't know what kind of sex worker Alyssa Mercante was, because I don't know her personally. I can only take what she says at face value. I think she said she was a cam girl. Either way, it doesn't matter. My point of making this video is not to get onto sex workers. I quite frankly don't care what people do with their personal time, as long as they're not harming people. But from what I could see, Smash JT was repeating things that she was saying, and then she filed a lawsuit. And the reason I'm talking about this is that Smash JT and Alyssa Mercante are two people that exist within the gaming scene, right? And they represent opposite sides of the aisle. But for Alyssa Mercante to send a cease and desist to Smash JT, to me was a bit like, man, that's not a good look. I don't think that's going to end well, especially because she posted the cease and desist on her Twitter page, which you can go and look at, and Smash JT also covered it. Now, I don't work in law, but I read it, and me and my friends read it. We were like, that sounds like it was almost like a threat, which I was a bit like, the way it was worded seemed like a mob was going to come after Smash JT, and it didn't seem like the most intelligent. Smash JT is obviously like clapped back at it now.
The retraction and apology must be of equal prominence and receive equal promotion as the original defamatory statements to the best of your ability. We suggest that your retraction include the statement. So they want an apology, and then they're telling me what to say in my apology, which is fascinating because that's not really an apology from the heart. It was wrong of me to suggest Alyssa Mercante has engaged in sexual conduct for money. I let my rhetoric get away from me, and I did so hoping to inflame you, my audience. I apologize for spreading lies about Alyssa and for doing so to manipulate you, my viewers. Look at how she's trying to make me sound like an evildoer. You may catalog and document these retractions and apologies to us via email. Failure to do so will result in Alyssa seeking enforcement of her rights in court.
Come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
So we're going to see how that situation unfolds, but I've really got to ask, I know there's people that are supporting Alyssa Mercante that maybe they'll see this video. I don't understand how you can put your ideas online. You can say things about yourself, you can put provocative things online, things to wind people up, and then get upset when people come after you and say, hey, you said X, Y, and Z, so you must be X, Y, and Z. Or you make scathing reviews about games, or you make ill-informed remarks about people, and they clap back at you, and maybe they clap back slightly more vicious than you. To go down the route of cease and desist is a bit like, is this how far we've gotten in the gaming culture right now, where we can't sit down and exchange our ideas, we have to be at each other's necks? Now, I've said multiple times, even though I'm a much smaller YouTuber than Smash JT, and a lot more people know who Alyssa Mercante is, obviously she's become quite notorious in the gaming scene now, kind of like a second coming of Anita Sarkeesian. Now, I would genuinely like to sit and talk to the woman and ask her I have a lot of questions for her. There's a lot of things that I want to ask her, whether she's turning a blind eye to certain things, whether she's being purposefully provocative, whether she is not paying attention to how the industry is like changing and the way gamers are reacting. I have a lot of questions for her. I don't think I'll ever get the chance to speak to her. She probably thinks I'm not worth her time, as she probably does with the rest of these people that maybe agree with Smash JT's side of the aisle or have questions for her that challenge what she believes. Which brings me on to my next point. I want to talk about this engine called GODOT, right? Now, I didn't know what GODOT was. I had no idea. I'm not going to pretend like I knew what it was. I had no fucking idea what that thing was. And I went to take a look at what was going on. My friend sent it over to me and he said to me, you might want to take a look at this. This is very interesting. Now, I've pulled some screenshots and I'm going to read them out to you guys. The reason that this situation is interesting is that GODOT is an engine that people can use. It's a free use engine. You can go in there and build your games or whatever. But they seem to have taken a political stance. And they seem to be banning people that don't align with what they want, with what they believe. Now, I'm going to read out some things to you. I'm going to tell you why I find this very, very weird and why I think this is a very, very quick way to destroy your company. Now, clearly there's been a difference of opinions between people that have played some of the indie games that have come from the GODOT engine and people that work at GODOT or people in that Discord. Now, the way I see things, and I mean this because it's represented in my Discord, it's represented on my live streams. I don't care if you are left, I don't care if you're right, I don't care if you support Kamala, I don't care if you support Trump, I don't care if you're for LGBT rights or if you don't particularly agree with everything that they do. As long as we are cool with each other, you can have your beliefs, I'll have my beliefs. You don't bother me, you can sit in my stream chat, you can sit in my Discord, and it is what it is. I've had people in my Discord before who don't like Muslims, and I've told them, take that shit and park it at the door. You can have your beliefs. I've had people before that have messaged me privately and said, this person has not used my pronouns, and I'm not happy about it. And I've said to them, you take your bullshit, whatever it is you believe in, whether you dislike Muslims or you want your pronouns used, that's up to you to believe. Check that shit at the door. Do not mention it in my Discord server. I'm not here to police people and how they think, but I don't want you saying things about people to that effect. And I also don't want you trying to force people to do things that they don't want to do. And I've told these people, if you can get along, everybody can sit here. What I don't agree with is if I didn't politically align, or, you know, however you want to word it, socially align with these people in my Discord, of which I can tell there are some that I don't, that I would ban them. I think that that is wrong. Now, GODOT seems to be going down this route. And one thing I've noticed from Discourse on Twitter regarding games is that everything is seen as harassment. There's no such thing as criticism anymore. There's no such thing as, this game just sucks. This game's rubbish, which is perfectly fine to say. I just left a scathing review of Mortal Kombat 1 Chaos Reigns on Twitter that got like 215,000 views. It got picked up by loads of people messaging me about it, but I kept it to the game. I didn't make it about the people, and I'm allowed to say what I want about the game. I think that it did do things that were terrible, and I made it about that. But these people that are a bit more fragile, you could say, you write something bad about their game, and they think you're personally attacking them. And that is no more evident than this screenshot that I'm pulling here. So I'm going to read it out to you guys, and there's a couple more screenshots that I want you to see. This one says, the drama isn't created by GODOT, who just made a nice tweet to surface cool indie games. The drama is created by reactionary, insecure cowards who have nothing better to do in their day than to shit on something they are unconcerned with. They even feel persecuted because other people exist and are visible. These people's cowardice and small-mindedness is a danger to everyone. They're the filth of humanity, and banning them is a kindness to everyone, including themselves. That way they can continue to pretend the world is made only of cowards like them, and not be subjected to people that are different. For me, the only problem of this tweet is that it doesn't happen every day, so more of those imbeciles can be banned. They should be doing these tweets every 30 minutes, and anyone who has a problem with them can fuck off to oblivion and then fuck off some more. That's a pretty good one. Anyone having any slight issue with it here can fuck off too. To not have mode drama is very easy. There will be no more drama the day those drama queens stop getting their panties in a knot around anything that doesn't concern them. See something that doesn't concern you in any way, just do your best to be a normal human being about it, and there will be no more drama. I did find that tweet interesting because on one hand I was like, depends on what is being said here, right? And a lot could be said. There's a lot of things that you could frame that you're like, okay, we don't want that in the Discord server, whatever it might be. Maybe somebody personally attacked somebody. But then I came across this tweet, which I'm not going to read out to you. I'm just going to put on the screen. Which, from what I can see, might be the same Discord moderator saying some questionable things. I think it's funny that you stand on a moral high ground and then you write things like this. This is a bit mad. Okay, now I'm not going to get my knickers in a twist about it because I have a backbone, you know, sticks and stones. I don't really care. But I do think it's a bit hypocritical for you to sit there and write that whole spiel about wrong think and harassment, blah, blah, blah. And then you're writing things like this, which you can see on the screen right now. And then GODOT went one step further. Instead of just like being like, okay, let's just put that behind us. Let's just play the games and build an engine or whatever it is that we're doing. They decided to tweet out saying, apparently game engines are woke now. Well, then we won't complain. Put a rainbow there, and then they wrote, show us your woke games below. And I was like, maybe just focus on the games and forget the politics. Because, you know, if GODOT was run by a bunch of people that put pronouns in their bio and believe certain things, as long as they produce good games, I'm not going to care. And I truly mean that. I'm going to get onto that in a little bit. I know some people will, and they're well within their rights to do that. Just like, let's not pretend now, if certain people lean a certain way, particularly in the opposite direction to these kinds of people, I don't think they're going to be allowed to work on GODOT. I don't think they'd be given a position there. I think if you came out as a Trump supporter, as a gun-toting Trump supporter, let's say, make America great again, all that stuff, I don't think that they would give you a position there. And now, that's their right, I guess, it's their company, but I do think it's funny that everyone's always like, oh, go about your business, blah, blah, blah. But we've seen multiple times in the media, especially in Hollywood, and this has happened in the gaming industry as well, that when actors or actresses lean a certain way, people start to take dunks on them. You guys remember when Chris Pratt was wearing a "Don't Tread on Me" t-shirt, and then people really wanted to look into his lifestyle and what he was doing, and he's a devout Christian, and he came under heavy fire. Now Chris Pratt is so good at his job that he just sort of like navigated that shitstorm, but that wasn't the case for everybody. The same thing happened to Gina Carano. Gina Carano, who I wouldn't even say at the time was right, I think she's probably been pushed into it a bit more now, had ideas about America that didn't align with Hollywood, who we know to be left-leaning. Everyone knows there's no point in trying to pretend that that's not the case. She was ostracized from Hollywood. She was kicked off of The Mandalorian. There was also Kevin Sorbo. Now, you guys might be too young watching this. I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 32, and when I was growing up, we had this thing called Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, and this guy was my Hercules. And he's got very right-leaning views, and he has been ostracized by Hollywood. He makes his own movies. You know, he knew that when he came out, the fact that you even have to say coming out, it's crazy. He knew that it was going to be ostracized. There was even a lot of controversy around the voice actor for Dante and I believe Ken Masters in Street Fighter, Ruben Langdon. But I remember initially when it was drummed up, it came out that he might be a little bit more right-leaning and people started to be a bit funny towards him. It's not a new thing. So when people act like, don't let the politics of the individual bother you, that's just, those people are lying. When they find out, and this goes for both sides, we're going to get to Ghost of Yotei on this in a minute. When they find out that you lean a certain way, that you believe certain things, no matter how crazy it might seem to them, it does start to bother people. So this whole disingenuous, just play the game, none of them believe that. And to a certain extent, if you don't do anything outrageous, your politics, it is what it is. I have friends in my life. You guys have even seen Ellie on this channel before. Our politics don't completely align, but I'm still very close with them. But that's because I don't just sit online constantly. I go outside, and when you go outside and you talk to gamers that are not chronically online, a lot of this stuff just flies over their head. They're like, dude, I just want to play the game. I don't really give a shit. That happens a lot. That, especially being in the fighting game scene where we don't deal with this as much as other scenes, as other like single player games, I'd say. A lot of them are just like, I don't care, man. I just want to play the game. Now this brings me on to the Ghost of Yotei. Now, I was doing a live stream when they announced this game. And I'm not going to lie to you, my reaction when I saw the female samurai was like, where's Jin? But it wasn't a reaction of, oh my god, it's a woman. Because I've never had an issue with using women in games. But now that we're all online and we get to see who these people are behind the characters, it starts to turn into a little bit of an issue. Now for me, the Ghost of Yotei would not be an issue just because it's a woman. Because I've played games where there are badass women before. I've watched movies where there are badass women in situations that are completely unrealistic for a woman to be in. My issue really with this is going to come with who the person is that's playing the character. Now, I don't have a personal stake in this as of yet. But when this situation popped up, this individual that goes by the name Erika Ishii, I believe I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize if I'm not. I started to look into who she was because a lot of people were like, no, I'm not playing it. And I was like, I said it in my Discord channel, I said it to a couple of people on live stream, guys, there's nothing wrong with a woman being the lead. However, there's a problem when you add context to this situation. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to add some unfortunate context to this situation. After we speak about Erika Ishii, I do want to speak about Ubisoft just to close it off. But just to focus on her, Erika Ishii seems to be a very, very vocal personality online. She's an advocate for LGBT stuff. She's very, very vocal in the LGBT scene. And she's made some spicy tweets. Now, her being an advocate for the LGBT crowd, depending on what you're advocating, because you could be an advocate for any crowd and you could say something crazy, depending on what you're advocating. I'm not going to be mad at it because, you know, people in the LGBT crowd are just people. It depends on what you're saying. So when people say to me, oh, she's an advocate for LGBT X, Y, and Z, I'm like, yeah, but what is the problem here? When you go looking into it a little bit, I'm like, okay, I can see where there might be an issue here. Now, as I said, I personally will play a game if somebody is in it that has political leanings or stances that I don't particularly like or agree with, as long as the game is good, because I am jumping into another universe. I am detaching from the real world. If the gameplay is there, then I'm there. So we're going to wait to see how that unfolds on the Ghost of Yotei. But before I read these tweets from Erica, because this is not a video to throw her under the bus. It's more to say that it's completely normal for guys to want to use male characters in video games that are centered around like violence and sieges, or like the samurai or ninjas or warriors or whatever it is. It's perfectly normal for a dude to play the first iteration of a game and then see the second iteration and not see a guy, see a woman and say, I don't want to play it. That doesn't necessarily make them sexist. Like, I'll tell you guys, I mean, you guys already know, when new fighting games come out, I don't play female characters. I gravitate straight towards whoever like the boss character is, which tends to be a man, or whoever the character is that looks physically imposing. Now, most of the time, women don't look physically imposing. They look physically appealing. They look very cool. Like, you know, you've got Stellar Blade, you've got Bayonetta, you've got Tomb Raider, you know, Kill Bill. There's loads of characters that look physically appealing, but I'll go to the ones that are imposing. The ones that look like, you know, they're going to do some real damage. That doesn't make me sexist. And it wouldn't make me sexist if I saw Ghost of Tsushima 2 or Ghost of Yotei and I was like, Jin's not there, I'm not really interested in it, it's not a dude. I want to play as a male samurai. That's completely fine. The same way that if a girl said, I want to use a female samurai, I want to use a Ronin that is female from that time, I don't want to play as a guy, I wouldn't see that as sexist. You're a girl. Of course you want to use a female character. Now, most girls that I've spoken to about us are like, we wanted to use Jin, but that's neither here nor there. You get my point. It doesn't make you sexist to see a female lead and be like, I'm out. Because you already had something that was established there. There is obviously a level of sexism when you listen to certain things people say. Now, what I've just said, I would not perceive that to be sexist, any level of sexism. I would perceive that to be my preference, okay? You guys have seen girls on this channel before. I'm friends with girls in the fighting game scene. Like, I ain't got a problem with women, but I like using dudes. Pause. The problem comes when you read some comments from people that I have read, and some people are saying some really vile things about women. And obviously, those unfortunately get lumped in with people like me who are just like, no, I don't want to use a woman, I want to use a dude. I want to use the Marcus Phoenix, I want to use the Feng Wei, you know, I want to use Blade, you know, typically masculine dudes, and they all get lumped in. There's also another side to it where there's not people being sexist, but there's a knee-jerk reaction. When you see the Ghost of Yotei and you see a woman, because of all the discourse that has gone on online and how volatile everything has become, and there has been a very clear shift to get dudes out of roles, to gender bend, or to, you know, gender swap or whatever. Now, when you see a female character taken over from a male character, your mind's almost immediately like DEI. And sometimes they're going to be right. Sometimes there is going to be an effort to tell something that's not authentic at all. It's forced, it's contrived, and you don't want to have any part of. And sometimes it's okay to have a woman take over, but because of everything that's been going on, because of how the battle lines have been drawn, the minute we see these things, we instantly, our minds start going, sweet baby, you know, DEI, woke, what's happened here? So there's those people as well who are not necessarily sexist, but they've seen what's going on online with the culture war. And they're just like, oh, I want none of this. I mean, we saw the whole drama of Yasuke. I might as well bring up Ubisoft now whilst we're going over it. Ubisoft is going down. Okay, now Ubisoft did a lot of things wrong. A lot. I mean, they did pretty much everything that you could do wrong. They have continuously put out shit games. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. They've put out shit game after shit game after shit game. It's just been, it's one thing after another. They don't seem to understand how to produce games that we want. There's no other way to really say that. There's also reports of a toxic work culture. You know, I hate using that word, but there's been reports of Ubisoft employees coming forward and saying that the work environment is unbearable. They can't produce games in this work environment. People are being called into HR for not putting smiley faces at the end of an email. And when I heard that, I was like, what?
At the end of the day, it all comes down to leadership. When you look at Ubisoft's messaging, the lackluster delivery of titles like X-Defiant and Star Wars Outlaws, the inaccuracies and screw-ups with Assassin's Creed Shadows, you see a developer that has no clear plan or vision for what players want, what good games look like, or how to even do their job. I took the time to talk to the Ubisoft developers about workplace culture. about the initiative that they've taken for diversity hiring and what happens behind the scenes at Ubisoft. And it's wild to see how accurate some of the assumptions that have been made by myself and others. Now, continuing my conversation with one of the developers, I wanted to find more about the workplace structure and management. And seeing as though the company has had initiatives that have been put in place to make the workplace a little bit more diverse, I asked, what benefits have you seen? Is there more diversity in thought, or is it creating a more one-sided environment? They said that so far the initiative hasn't had any impact on the team that I'm a part of. However, it's clear that some topics are taboo. What happened is now that people end up in a meeting with HR for trivial stuff, not adding smiley faces to a message or adding an exclamation point at the end of a message because some people are reporting it for harassment.
Alright guys, this was just a quick break from the video because it's quite a long one. I thought I'd remind you that I am still sponsored by Instant Gaming and they do a lot of amazing deals. As you can see down here, they've got a lot of discounts. If you click on the link in my description below or put Shambolic Hollow in the URL, then you can be sure to go over and find all of the awesome deals they've got. Come over to the trending page to see what's going on here. They've got pretty much everything that you can think of, you know, including Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which we are all looking forward to. They've got Black Myth Wukong 22% off. Final Fantasy, the complete edition for only £46.32. There are a lot of good deals on here, guys. There are a lot of good deals. And I've actually gone out of my way and purchased a couple of things myself, which, you know, I'm not much of a PC guy, but can't really say no to a good deal. So there's things you can pre-order here. You know, Silent Hill 2 is on its way. If you ever wanted to try God of War, Raven's Watch. I don't even know what Raven's Watch is, but, you know, if it's cheap, it's cheap. So don't forget to click on the link in my description. And obviously there's a raffle as well. So the raffle is going to be starting as of today. They renew every month, and hopefully you guys win a game. There's a new winner every month, so let me know if you do win. Let me know if you do pick up anything from here. The link is in my description below, so make sure you click it. And when you're working in an environment like that, I can imagine, you know, you don't have time to, you know, get your creative juices flowing, and that schlop comes out. And then on top of that, there's probably a lot of employees at Ubisoft that have their heads up their asses as well. And that cocktail of shambolicness just basically creates a situation where you get a shit game that comes out. So on top of that, they disrespected Japan as well. They completely disrespected Japan. Anybody that tells you otherwise is lying. Now, yes, there are definitely people that would see a black samurai and their racist tendencies will come out. Let's not pretend like those people don't exist, okay? But if you're going to go to great lengths to make out that Thomas Lockley's work was historically accurate and then portray that in the game and then not go out of your way to do any research whatsoever, you have to understand why the Japanese public got very, very upset with how this was being depicted, right? This is a very important period in Japan's history, I believe the Sengoku period. Now, there's one piece of merchandising that Ubisoft did that even I was like, you fucking idiots. When you go to Japan, they've got these beautiful structures called the torii gates. I believe I'm saying that right? These gigantic, like, red gates. You've probably seen them in games before. You've seen them in anime. They're these grand structures. And Ubisoft, in their infinite wisdom, didn't bother to do their research. And they made these little toys with Yasuke and the female ninja in the game on a torii gate, like a singular torii gate. Like, almost as if the torii gate had been blown up. Now, Ubisoft didn't bother to do their research, but, you know, the internet is there. It doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to check that in 1945, when the atomic bomb was dropped on Japan, that there's a very well-known famous torii gate. It's called the one-legged torii gate. What did these idiots do? They decided to promote Yasuke and the female ninja on the one-legged torii gate because it looked decorative, not knowing what this torii gate means to these people. Now, you've got to imagine, after a traumatic experience like that, the one-legged torii gate that I believe is in Nagasaki, and I believe is called the Sano Shrine, or the Sano Shrine, something like that. I don't know if I'm saying the name properly. I know it's S-A-N-N-O. You've got to imagine that has a deep cultural significance to these people. Now, I'm not Japanese, okay? I've grown up watching Japanese things, Japanese movies, live action, anime. I listen to Japanese music, so I have a lot of respect for their culture. And when I'm doing something, I try my best to get things right. Now, You guys all know I've gotten things wrong before, okay? I got the Yasuke situation before, but when you get things wrong, you should be willing to be like, yo, you know, I fucked up here. Apologize to the people that you disrespected, you know, especially for something that's traumatic as what Ubisoft did, and just keep it moving. It's just one thing after another of them. They've done other things as well. I mean, if we could sit here all day. I did another video on Yasuke and the people of Japan and how they feel about him, and I had loads of Japanese people in my comment section saying to me, thank you for doing this video, and also thank you for apologizing, which is something that Ubisoft should do. They should apologize for their wrongdoing. If it was me personally, I would just scrap the game, because the game is a disrespect, and you always get those people in the comment section going, wow, who cares, it's fictional. What you clowns don't seem to understand is that it's not that Yasuke is in a fictional piece of media in Assassin's Creed. It is the intention behind it. The rewriting of history. They tried to peddle this as something that was factual. They tried to use Thomas Lockley's work, which we know now is a whole bunch of hoo-ha, as factual. So to these people, it would be disrespectful. If they came over to your country and there was a significant cultural situation that occurred, or there was some sort of like leader like they had as Oda Nobunaga in the Sengoku period, and you try to rewrite history and then distribute that rewritten history to the world, you're probably not going to like it either. Maybe some of you don't care about your country's heritage. Maybe you don't have no cultural heritage. I don't know. But the people that came into that Yasuke video saying the Japanese people should get over it and you guys should get over it, respectfully, well, I can't be respectful, but I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Anyway, moving on. The Ghost of Yotei situation is slightly different because I don't believe there's any like historical accuracy when it comes to these games. I think obviously they're loosely based on things that might have happened on Tsushima. I don't know. I don't think there's any historical accuracy. And with this one, it doesn't seem like they're going down that road. Now, apparently the game is set 300 years later, so Jin would be dead at that point. Why they chose 300 years later, I don't know. I guess we're gonna wait and see. The problem that people have is that because Erica is very outspoken online, they don't like the things that she's saying. Okay, the best way to put this is, I'm a YouTuber, right? I create content on YouTube. There are people that don't like my content. If there was an overwhelming amount of people that did not like me, and then I got hired to a game studio, the game studio needs to take that into consideration. If I'm a very, very loud person online, and there's a lot of people that are going to politically disagree with me, even though I don't really make my politics known, let's say that I did, the studio needs to be aware that people have the right to exercise a vote with their wallet. Now, because Erica's very vocal online with the things that she does and the LGBT stuff, people are concerned that they're going to make this game, what's the best word to use, hyper inclusive, I guess, which is not going to do the game any favors. It should just focus on her story in Japan and whatever it is she's doing there. And I think the other problem that people are finding with this is that they think it's going to be a typical girl boss game. And when I say girl boss game, you might be thinking, what the hell are you talking about, Mike? I think what people don't like about the portrayal of women in the media as of late is that they're not really portraying women. There's a woman there, but they're just acting like men. And men and women are very different. I want to see a different story told if I'm going to be using a female samurai. I want to see how a female samurai would navigate the world, you know, without the same level of brute strength that Jin might have, or the same way that he goes about things, because he's a dude and this is a woman. Now, I've got no problem with a woman being a lead, but be a woman. You know, be a woman, be someone that I could be like, wow, you know, she's strong and she's tough for other reasons. When you put a woman in this role and she just behaves like a man, I'm just like, well, why don't you just put Amanda? Because we pretend like men and women are not different now, but we are different. We're very, very different. We're very different with how we see the world. We're different with how we deal with like confrontation, generally speaking. We're different with how we take things in. Sometimes I know in my personal life, like I hang around with girls and hang around with guys, and there are things that are like they're reoccurring in guys when we're in confrontational situations, and reoccurring with women. And I can only imagine that is probably like the how the rest of the world really works. And so she's tweeted out something saying Inari or Kami, I don't know, that must mean something to do with God. I think Kami means God. Male, female, or androgynous. Success and prosperity always. And I think people took issue with that. She also said, I've never felt more myself, yet the journey continues. Inari is depicted as male, female, andro, or a group. Deity of prosperity. I think people's concern is that this is not going to be a samurai game. This is going to be a game full of the message. You guys, we've all seen it before. I don't know how well this game is going to do because of the actress that's portraying the game. Now again, I don't have a personal beef with this woman. I'm just simply pointing out what I'm seeing online and how I see things going here. There are also some tweets that she put up that is going to rub people the wrong way. She wrote, "Also can't help but notice the article focused mostly on the mechanics of our game and not which Pokemon is most effable." I don't want to repeat that. "Which we spent far more time on in the episode, but fine, I guess I'll be the one to just keep us focused up the important questions." I don't know if she's telling a joke. That's kind of a weird joke, but whatever. She also tweeted out saying, "Abolish the police." That's a spicy one. That's going to make people go, I don't want to play a game or be associated, but this woman is attached to it, because the abolish the police thing is, especially in America, that is a very, very touchy subject. A very, very touchy subject. So you have to understand, somebody seeing that being like, they might think that she's an idiot for saying that. Some people might support it, but the point here is that it's very polarizing. I don't think that's a good thing for a game. I don't think that's a good thing for a game. I think those sort of things work in other places. For a video game, I don't think that's the best approach. It is unconscionable to allow this racist institution that terrorizes the citizens they are sworn to protect abolish the police. Look, now is the time to reach across the aisle to Trump supporters and tell them F racism and homophobia and fascism. That's not a difference of political ideology. That is oppression and we reject it. Now the problem with that is that, yeah, I can get down with F racism. The problem is that she said Trump supporters. So she's labeled a whole group of people as racists. And we all know that racism exists across the board. Whether you are a Kamala supporter or a Trump supporter, you know, Erica, that there are racists on both sides. So to say that, you are obviously going to incite the anger of people that support Trump. Now you could say, let's do a whole kumbaya thing, right? We're all Americans here. Let's try to get along. I'm not in America, I'm just saying. But instead you pointed the finger at a whole group of people. You have to imagine that, you know, those people are not going to really want to support your game. And ultimately, you want the game to do well. You're coming off the back of a wildly successful game. Super beloved. Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games. There's a lot to live up to there. You're not really off to the best start of those kinds of tweets. I gotta be honest with you. Now, like I said, you might be a nice person in person, because people online really are the worst version of themselves a lot of the time. Even I, sometimes I watch videos back of myself and I'm like, ugh. So I get it. But that's not a great thing to be putting online when you're working in an industry where you're trying to sell to predominantly men. I mean, let's be honest, it's predominantly men that you're selling games to. It's not a great thing to be saying when basically you're giving the middle finger to half of America. We know that not all Trump supporters are racist, and we know not all Kamala supporters are racist either, so it's just a bit of a mad thing to say. Drunk guy got up in my space at the arcade to ask, "Are you single?" while I was playing a rhythm game. I shouted, "Dude, if you bother me while I'm playing a game, I will kick your effing ass," as my girlfriend and a femme fatale walked up to flank me. Haven't seen him since. I mean, today on things that didn't happen, right? It's just a weird thing to tweet out. Like, I have things that happen to me in my personal life. I wouldn't get home and be like, I was at the arcade and some girl... I'm just like, keep it to yourself, man. Who cares? Like, what are you trying to prove here? Chances are, like, unless the guy was like 90 pounds soaking wet, he probably would have weighed you in. Let's be honest now. If I walked up to a girl and I was chatting to her and she was like, "I'm going to F you up," I'd look at her and be like... me. And so this picture here really does like set the scene for where we are in the scene in the gaming culture right now. They all follow the same text, right, till you get to the bottom. And when you get to the bottom, it says character is female. It's woke DEI, woke game, Sweet Baby Inc, DEI higher, woke. And again, it goes back to the whole I get the knee-jerk reaction, because anybody that says that there has not been a shift in the gaming industry for its detriment, because these games have tanked, they're lying. Okay, they are absolutely lying. But I do think that it is important for us to not have that knee-jerk reaction, because the wheel just keeps turning. It just keeps on turning. Now, following that, obviously, like we've just gone off her tweets, I can understand why people would not want to play Ghost of Yotei now, just off the back that they don't like her politics. And like I said, let's not be silly about this, okay? All the people that are saying just focus on the game, don't worry about what she tweets out. If this was an avid Trump supporter and you went on their Twitter page and you saw loads of Trump stuff and Make America Great Again, you'd do the exact same thing. So please don't be fucking hypocrites here, okay? That's the one thing I can't get down with. And I support your right to be like, hey, I don't want to play this game that has a Trump support in it. That's up to you. But let's not pretend, okay, like all of these incels, as you like to call them or whatever, you're any different than them. You're not. And I'm not even calling them incels. Those are your words. Where you see people that you don't politically align with, you also get turned off, okay? Let's not bullshit about that. Now, this tweet went absolutely viral, okay? Now, it involves Mighty Keith, Endymion, and Sean Layden. And I had my run-in with Mighty Keith not too long ago, but me and him spoke in private. I like Mighty Keith. Like I said in the other video, I'm cool with him. Seems like he's cool with me. We had a disagreement. It was all blessed. He sent me a very, very nice message. I sent him a couple of voice notes back saying that, you know, if there's ever an issue, we can talk. But I do find this tweet interesting, not because he said anything wrong, and he didn't say anything wrong. I'm going to read out to you what happened here, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. So Endymion sends this tweet out as soon as Ghost of Yotei gets announced, and he says, Ghost of Tsushima sequel stars a Japanese woman samurai warrior because of course it does. They can't help themselves until every franchise that was built on masculinity is replaced by women. Ghost of Yotei is hopefully a smaller spin-off game, but if this is the true sequel and this is the new main character over Jin Sakai, fuck that. So sick of this forced girl boss narrative, man. Below that you can see Mighty Keith saying, I wonder how long until those people start doing the thing they do. And then on top of that it says, man, what an absolute loser. And then Sean Layden, who I think he formerly worked at Sony in quite a high ranking position, maybe like an executive role, said, one, it's a game, an entertainment, a story, a team of creators believes in, they want to make this. It's a game. If you don't like it, don't buy it. In fact, why not make the game you want yourself? Which, just to focus on him for a second, as somebody that works to sell games to people or to like push games out there, that's really not the best thing to say. There's clearly a reason why Endymion has had this reaction. And instead of just calling each other names, we should actually sit down and talk about why has Endymion had this reaction to it. Because when I saw his reaction, I was like, I wouldn't have worded it that way myself. But I kind of get where he's coming from. When I saw Ghost of Tsushima initially, I was like, really? But I wasn't like really like, oh, you know, it's a woman. I was like, are they doing that thing again? Are we getting rid of the dude? I mean, we just saw it in Mortal Kombat, right? We did the whole breakdown of Mortal Kombat. There was no reason for Sector and Cyrax to become women. There was none. The backstory of the male counterparts was infinitely better. There was no reason for Orin to be a woman in the game either. The story went in absolutely no like logical direction, and so I would say, yeah, there was a lot of girl boss shit going on in that game that made no sense whatsoever, and we've seen it in other games. Now that doesn't mean that Ghost of Yotei is going to do that just because of Erica's political leanings or the things that she says online. She definitely comes across as a real life girl boss, but at the end of the day she still has to do a job. She's got to go to work and do a job, and if Sucker Punch says, hey, you're acting this way, we're going to pay you for that, and then you go do whatever you want to do. That could be a situation. Now, I don't know if it's going to go down that way. I think people hire people that reflect their values a lot of the time. So, if I'm being honest with you guys, I don't think that's a conversation that's ever happened. I am not going to be surprised if Ghost of Yotei doesn't do even half the sales that Ghost of Tsushima did. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to sit back and watch what happens. I'm going to see what happens. We'll see how this unfolds. If the game's good, the game's good. No problem. I don't really give a shit what Erica does in her personal life. As long as she's not hurting anybody, she can say whatever she wants. That's how I see it. And the same goes for people that are on the opposite aisle. They might have beliefs that I don't... Because there's beliefs on the left and the right that I don't sit with on either side. As long as they ain't bothering me and they give me a good game, you know, it is what it is. But this Sean guy, probably not the best thing to say. But just to go back to Mighty Keith and Endymion, I watch a lot of the discourse online with Mighty Keith and a lot of these other people he disagrees with. And I always wondered to myself, what would happen if they sat in a room together and actually had a conversation? Because I think having conversations with people in person goes down dramatically differently than when you do it online. And a lot of the time when I sit and I speak to people, whether it's in person or I can see them through a camera, the vibe is completely different. The tone is different. There's nothing really vitriolic being said. It's like trying to find a middle ground or trying to understand both sides. There's a very clear reason why Endymion has said that. But there's also a clear reason why Mighty Keith has reacted that way. And to pretend otherwise would just be disingenuous. Now, I'm not for shutting down conversation. I'm really not. And I really try to avoid it as much as possible. As long as nobody's actually being harassed or being racist or homophobic or Islamophobic or whatever phobic you want to call it. Like when I can see blatant signs of it, then obviously I'll step in. There's blatant signs of it, and then there's people that are wet blankets, and anything you say to them is not on. Now, to go back to the GODOT engine, there's a couple more screenshots that I want to reference here that I don't think you should go down this road when you're a moderator, when you're trying to curate a community, or when you are in charge of an engine or a game and you want people to play your game or take part in using your engine. It says there's no ambiguity, by the way. Anyone who speaks against this needs to be banned immediately. May they be good people? Maybe. May they be redeemed and learned? Sure, it's possible. They can do so on their own time and come back once they know better. In the meantime, they're toxic weeds and need to be removed. And there's more tweets from this individual that you can see on the screen here. I don't think it's the way to go about curating a community, to do those sort of things, to be like a dictator. You should be open to conversation. You really should. And I think that more people in the gaming space need to be open to conversation. This whole thing in the gaming scene has gotten so nasty, in my opinion, online at least, because when you go offline, this doesn't exist. But online, it's become so nasty that I feel like we're going to reach a boiling point soon. The Smash JT versus Alyssa Mercante things, I think is it's a bad omen for where things are going to go. Alyssa Mercante should not have sent that cease and desist. I don't think she's going to get anything from it personally. Having read over the documents, which you can read on her Twitter page, it looks like a bunch of hogwash, especially because it scrubs a lot of the nonsense that she said, and she has said a lot of nonsense. I'm not taking shots at her, but she said a lot of dumb things. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. You only have to go on her Instagram. Her Twitter, and you'll see it for yourself. But I do think I think people need to just talk more. I think these companies need to pay attention more to what they're doing, especially Ubisoft. I mean, they've hit like 10 icebergs, you know. I don't know if they're going to survive this, and quite honestly, I don't care if they do. I know there's people there that will lose their jobs, and it's unfortunate, but somebody needs to be made an example of. You can't keep on doing these things and expect people to buy your games and then say to them, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Challenge accepted, we won't buy it, and then what are you going to do? Like, you're a business, you need our money. That former Sony executive saying don't buy it if you don't like it, that is not the way to go about it. It really isn't. And circling back to the Dragon Quest thing, I think the Japanese developers being frustrated at the censorship of the games really reflects where we are in the West right now. Them being frustrated that their games get censored is no different than when we see them getting censored. It's just because they work in the industry, they do probably have to watch what they say. For them to say that on camera, I can only imagine what they feel inside as creatives. But I'm not tied to an organization. I'm not tied to Capcom, Square Enix, Bandai Namco, whoever it might be, Sega. I might like all these companies, but I don't have to toe the line for any of them. My sympathies are with creatives that get censored by these Western companies because they feel like they need to protect us or represent us better. And yet when you speak to a majority of people, and especially when we talk about women, not even they want this bullshit. Not even they want this bullshit. So I don't know where this is going to go. This video is largely pointless anyway. I don't know where this is going to go. I just thought it was interesting to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it on camera. I wanted to do a live stream. I've said this multiple times, whether it was about talking to women on here to understand what their experiences are in the gaming scene, whether it's talking to like black girl gamers to understand their mindset, whether it's talking to Alyssa Mercante, whether it's talking to anybody. But getting people on camera is very difficult, and that is why I think when people on Twitter, they are really the worst versions of themselves. You put someone in front of a camera against somebody that is opposing to them, and that goes for me as well. Someone could challenge something that I say and make me stumble, and I have to sit there and rethink what I'm saying, and maybe I get something wrong, but I'm willing to have a conversation with people because I'm in this scene. I'm talking to people. I'm seeing things on my WhatsApp of people that are also disingenuous. You know, they love the smell of their own farts. I'm seeing things in my Discord and other people's Discord where I'm just like, you can't demonize the whole other side. There's a problem on your side of the aisle as well. Maybe you should sit somewhere close to the center. I know a lot of people say that sitting in the center is the cowardly thing to do, but when you sit in the center, you're not covered by either side. And I've experienced you get attacked by both sides. And it's always telling to me the people that attack you, because I'm like, that person's an idiot and that person's an idiot. Because if you sit in one camp completely and you think that your camp is completely right and they're completely wrong, you're an absolutist. And I don't think there's many absolutes in life, certainly not this situation. Anyways, guys, that's all I really got. I don't think I'm missing anything. It's been a bit of a crazy time in the gaming scene. Anyway, we'll get back to some more fun topics, but every now and then we've got to cover these things and see where people's minds are. So let me know what you think in the comment section, and I will catch you guys very soon. Take care and peace.